What's up guys, welcome to another video. Now today is a little bit different. I wasn't able to fly today because it was raining. Boo-hoo. So instead, I thought I would answer some of your questions, and I get asked questions pretty much daily. So I've collected a list of quite a few, and if you've asked me a question in the last couple of months, maybe it's in here, and there's quite a lot to get through, so I'm just going to get through it quick time. So let's get into the first one. So this first person says, "Hey man, came across your page yesterday and I really love it. Thank you. I've been wanting to get into FPV, but I have no idea what to buy. I've been flying regular drones for around 7 years." And somebody else, pretty much same question, "I'm a beginner. Do you recommend me?" I don't recommend you if you want to get into drones because you're not a drone. The first person said they've been flying regular drones for around 7 years. It doesn't really help. FPV and your like Mavic style drones are completely different. There's a lot more involved with FPV, and I would say if you want to get into it, the first step would be to get yourself a controller and a simulator, and then you can just try it out on your computer, see if you like it, and then if you really are kind of enjoying it and you want to get into drones in real life, personally I would say build, because you are going to end up crashing. And then when you do crash and you want to know how to fix things, you're going to have that knowledge. So there's so many tutorials out there online of how to build and what parts you need to get into it. I have even made one, a whole beginner's guide, and I'm not going to get into too much depth because there's just too many questions to get through today. But I will try and put on the screen my guide, which I made a couple of years ago, I think. Might make an updated version of that. Let me know if you want to see an updated version. Anyway, on to the next question. "I don't really understand about assembling drones. Are there any modified drones that are all complete and just need to be played with? I wonder how much it will cost you to assemble the drone in total." A lot of people say this to me because they have no knowledge about FPV drones and they don't know how to build one, and most of the time they can't be bothered to do the research in learning how to build one. So they just want to be able to buy one that is already pre-built and just ready to go. And you can do that. You can buy a bind and fly. I think iFly is probably one of the most famous companies for selling bind and fly drones. Their Nazgul is one of the most popular bind and fly drones. But you still, even when you buy a bind and fly, you still need the knowledge of how to go into Betaflight to pair it up to your controller. And there are things that you do need to learn about LiPo battery safety and whatnot, and you need to get various tools and chargers. So it's not just as simple as buying a drone and off you go. Unless you get an Avata 2, obviously. Whoa. So I would say just do a bit of research, you know? Find out what parts you need, what works together, and if you're confused, you can always DM me for further information or just ask someone else. But yeah, just don't expect it to be, you'll be able to just buy now and then you've got it, off I go. It's not quite that simple. "Hey man, I love your videos. Just wondering, where can I get a nice FPV drone like that? Been looking for ages for a really fast one like that." And then somebody else says, "Hey, I really want to get a cool drone like that, but I don't know where to get them. Can you please tell me where you got yours or where to get them?" It's true, FPV drones are a lot cooler than your Mavics.
I'm cool.
And then somebody else said to me, "Hi, I've been watching a lot of your videos recently." Thank you. And I really like them. Oh, thanks again. "I've been looking to get into FPV, but I'm having trouble choosing whether I should go digital or analog. Can you tell me if there is a way to get DJI goggles for a cheap price? Are the older goggles still viable?" I would say definitely go digital, because even if you're thinking about the money that you're going to save by getting an analog build, I guarantee if you stick around in FPV and you want to continue flying, in the future you will no doubt want to then change to a digital setup. And he says, "Can you tell me if there was a way to get DJI goggles for a cheap price?" Second-hand goggles are always a good option. Are the older goggles still viable? If you're looking for some DJI goggles, the V1s, don't get them, get the V2s, because the V1s aren't compatible with the newer systems. There's also Walk Snail now, which is pretty good, and HD0. But for me personally, I use DJI. I love it. So this guy says, "Awesome, congrats on the skill." Why, thank you, sir. "What are the settings of this control equipment and too many items? Do you buy somewhere specific?" Could you share? I think what this guy is trying to say is, what is this that you're flying and where do you buy it, basically? And I would say that if you want to know my specific settings and my specific setup, I always list it down below in the description. So just go check the description. And if you want to know if I buy somewhere specific, yes, I do. And I buy online. And most FPV stores are online. And if you search in your country, there's different FPV stores in every single country. I don't know where you are specifically based, but I'm sure if you do a Google search, you'll be able to find out. Next question. Amazing. Thank you. How much does this setup cost? Around, I don't know, $600 plus. FPV, ever since the pandemic, has been getting more and more expensive. And I do use premium parts, and I would highly recommend all the parts that I use. Check the description if you want to find out what they are. Now this one's from TikTok, and I always get very interesting questions from TikTok because I think most of my followers are just not FPV pilots. Anyway, this guy has said, or I don't know if it's a guy, it could be a woman, they're just called user. How many drones do you have, sir? I've got 2 drones. You can see them here. Then he says to me, how about old drone? Now, if you look at the state of my drones, you could be fooled into thinking that they are old drones, but they're not that old. They've just been beaten, bashed, and they're very, very dirty. And then he or she says, drone are very expensive at your place. And I can see this conversation is usually only going in one direction, and that's they're usually going to ask me if they can have my drone or if I can gift them a drone. And usually I very politely say, unfortunately, I cannot. Dude, amazing advice and piloting. Can you explain your flight cam angle and action cam angle? I just built a 5-inch freestyle that works great, but I need stick time. I want to work up to your level. Please explain a good angle I should practice at for freestyle. Thank you so much. And then somebody else says, hey Patrick, can you tell me what camera tilt you're flying? I just started FPV and I'm really impressed by your footage. Thank you very much, sir. My camera angle is 30 degrees, and I would say it's not good to start on 30 degrees. It's probably a bit high. When I first started, I was flying at 15 degrees, and when I was comfortable with that, I moved up to 25, which I stayed at for about a year or so. Then I decided I wanted to start learning trippy spins, and a higher camera angle is slightly better for trippy spins. So I moved up to 30, and I've been flying 30 probably for about 2 or 3 years. Same with my action camera angle, of course. Yeah, I love 30, it's fast, and good for trippy spins. Mate, tell me rates for freestyle. I'm around 670, 500 with my 5-inch Nazgul. That's the iFly that I was talking about earlier, the bind and fly. Very, very popular. I just bought some new Zing motors. I'm thinking to start bashing it a bit, man. It kind of depends the style that you're going for. If you are going for that like slow flow style, then these 670 or 500, perfectly fine for that. I would say if you want to do something a bit snappier, move it up closer to like 800 or maybe even 900. And if you just want to go crazy, chaos rates I call them, then anything over 1,000 is good. Which sim do you usually play? I have Liftoff and Uncrashed. I don't have Liftoff, but I do have Liftoff. Anyway, sorry, bad joke aside. My favourite sim actually is AI Drone Sim, which is definitely not the most popular sim out there, but for me it feels like it's got the best physics. And I also play Liftoff and sometimes Uncrashed, but for me, just Uncrashed, I just can't get the physics feeling good, so I don't really play it much. For me, AI Drone Sim, that's the one. Now this next question is also talking about the simulator, and he says, I have Liftoff. Does it help you in freestyle and learning? I know this may be a stupid question, but like how realistic does that feel to you? I would say there's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers. Stupid! And so I'm going to give you an answer, and hopefully it's not stupid. So I would say that for me, simulators feel relatively realistic, actually, especially, as I was talking about before, AI Drone Sim, my favourite simulator. It's got really good physics. Obviously, it's never going to feel the same as real life, but 100%, that muscle memory that you're learning whilst doing tricks in the simulator will directly translate to real life. And so that's why I always say, don't underestimate the power of the sim. It will help you hugely. On to the next one. Hey bro, How long does it take to practice FPV drone to reach a skill level like yours, bro? How long have you practiced, bro? And then somebody else says, hi mate, how long does you take fly perfectly? Because when I try, I lose my confidence. So what these people are asking is how long I've been flying for, and the answer to that is 5 years. And I've probably got about 600 to 700 sim hours as well. And I'm quite consistent. I fly my drone in real life, I would say about once every week, usually on Sundays. And I would say if you don't have confidence, then go in the sim. Practice as much as possible in the simulator. And if you're new to FPV, I would say get at least 30 hours in the sim before you go out and practice in real life. And if you have got a lot of sim hours and you are going out in real life and you don't have confidence, I would say go somewhere safe, like an open field, somewhere that's not too scary with not too many objects, and just get some stick time in. You know, all it takes is more stick time. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. Simple as that. What drone it's? Now, I assume he's asking me what drone is it, and the answer is this one. Do you like that? Good, isn't it? With your Juicemode, assuming you're running TrueX/SquashedX, do you get props in GoPro footage? So he is talking about a Supafly Juicemode, which is the frame that I fly, which is this one. And this is not a TrueX configuration, this is a SquashedX. And the answer is no, I don't get my props in view, my GoPro footage. My angle's 30 degrees, as I talked about earlier. And yeah, they're even clear when I'm running ultra wide, so all good. This is a good frame, recommend it. With your Juicemode, what parts have you broken? Also, why the Juicemode over the flip or sync? So this is the Supafly Juicemode that he's talking about, a frame that's produced by a UK company. And what parts have you broken? Well, I've broken arms, definitely arms. I've broken quite a few arms. I've been flying this frame for over a year. I've broken bottom plate, I think, cracked. Nothing too serious actually. The top plate I've cracked in a few places. I've never had any major damage. I've bent some standoffs as well. This frame is pretty tough. I really recommend it. I've not really completely destroyed anything apart from an arm. You know, arms always get destroyed. They're the first things to go. And he also said why the Juicemode over the flip or sync. And I would say it's just because I love this classic frame design where it's all in one piece in the center. Much simpler for building. I'm not a huge fan of the cage, like the separate cages on the front. However, if you are looking to get a Supafly frame and you're running an O3, then just be aware that if you're getting a Juicemode, you will get some standoffs in view at the front. So the flip mode or the sync mode is probably better for the O3 system. Next question. If you crash, what's the average cost of repair? When I crash, usually the first thing that's going to happen is your props are going to get bent or broken. So per session, I would, if it's a really bad session, you're going to go through quite a few sets of props. But if it's a tame session, maybe you're flying on grass, maybe you'll only go through like one set of props, or if you're lucky, none. And props are quite cheap, they only cost a few dollars. If you smash a motor, maybe you dent a motor bill, it's going to cost you like $20 or something like that. ND filters that I put on the front here, they break, this is like $5. I would say that it's less likely that you're going to break a part of your frame or the internal electronics. I rarely, almost never break them, touch wood. I would say on average, the most I'm going to be spending after a session is like $15. The worst is if you break your action camera and then it's going to set you back like a few $100s. But yeah, that doesn't happen too often. Hello, Patrick. Hello. For your DJI Action 2, which is the action camera that I'm using, put it in here. Do you use lens protector? What kind of type you used? And the answer to that is yes, I always use an ND filter, which also acts as a lens protector, I suppose. And it slots in here in front of the camera, and I use the TBS glass ND filters, they're great. And then he said, your last DJI lens was broken. Not using ND filters, I have smashed the protective glass of the action camera, and I did have an ND filter as well, but I smashed into a wall. I was in a bando so hard, boom, and it broke the ND filter and the glass below. Not much you can do about that. Just try and not crash. Hey man, I want to ask you about what type of battery you use for 6S. What's the company that it comes from? Thanks. So the batteries that I use most often are these Speedy Pizza Drones 6S 1200 milliamp hours 100C 6S batteries, and these are made by CNHL, and these are my batteries of choice, and I love these. And these ones are even better, the Pro Series 1350, and these are 150C for that extra punch of power. But yeah, that's what I'm using, Speedy Pizza Power. Sir, how much is the battery backup of this drone? Now, I assume you're talking about how much is one of these costing you. Do you know what? I'm going to put a screenshot on here of how much they cost. Yeah, I don't know, but you'll know because you'll be looking at the screen. How many packs you can do from the original 1200 mAh before is dead? It depends, you know. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. This one here, this is an old Speedy Pizza Drones 1200. This one still works. I think it's probably like 2 years old. Maybe I should retire this one. Yeah, but these are the newer style ones. And I would say, honestly, with LiPo batteries, sometimes you get dead cells, sometimes you don't. Generally, these have been pretty reliable for me, but, you know, sometimes they do die. Usually when I bash them a lot. So just try and keep them in good condition. Make sure when you finish your session, you always put them back to storage. Don't leave them charged for too long. Just treat them right, and in return, hopefully they'll treat you right. You use DJI or WS, he means walks now. I see you in Da Nang, alright? You see me in Da Nang? Where you see me, bro? So, he's talking about a place in Vietnam. Yes, currently I'm living in Da Nang, which is in central Vietnam. If you want to come visit, let's go rip. But I use DJI. I don't use walks now. I'm using the DJI Goggles 2 with the DJI O3 system, and I love it. Alright, so I'm in the middle of editing this video, and there's still like 20 questions to go, and it's just going on way too long. So I'm going to cut it here. This is the end of the video, and I'm going to upload the rest of the questions in a part 2. And remember, you can always get freestyle merch at fpvfreestylekings.com. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one. So guys, I just added a new item to the store. It's a customizable t-shirt. As you can see, add your FPV name and flag on the front. It's a slightly cheaper version of the other customizable stuff that I did. There's a Union Jack one, and as I said before, you can put any country flag and FPV pilot name. You just purchase it and write in the notes what name and flag you want, and then I will sort that for you. And yeah, can you tell me what flag that is there on the black one? Answer down below. If you like that type of thing, don't forget to check it out.